This is going to be your guide to using Gengar in Pokemon UNITE. So let's talk about the battle items first because it really makes or breaks the Pokemon, and Full Heal gets my strongest consideration because, spoiler alert, we're running Sludge Bomb Hex. I will admit, Shadow Ball Dream Eater is fun, but it's not really viable if you're trying to win games, so let's talk about Hex. And the thing about Hex is that you want to go into a group of Pokemon as a non-tank. So if you get any bit of crowd control, if you get stunned, you're chain CC'd, you get blown up, and then you don't get to do anything. Also, there's Pokemon like Wigglytuff that just hard counter Gengar. So it's just safer to go, hey, I'm going to just pick Full Heal, and no matter what they have, I'm just going to go in, and I'm going to get as many kills as possible. So it kind of gives you a lot of safety when you go in, gives you multiple Hex usages, and then that just lets you win and dictate the fight. Also, it means you don't really get caught out as much, and it could just let you pop Full Heal. Or actually, there's a different rotation. You go Sludge Bomb, Full Heal, Hex, and then that's a Zapdos Steal. So it just kind of lets you do whatever you want, and Gengar has so much crazy damage and resets that being able to do whatever you want means that you win games. Now, when it comes to eject button on Gengar, I'm not a big fan of it because it doesn't really do as much for Gengar as other items. Even outside of Full Heal, there's still better items than the eject button. So it's like, yeah, you flash inside of a gank and it doesn't really accomplish much. Also, you don't have to Hex a target. You can Hex away and gain distance. Like, if you go for a Sludge Bomb and then the enemy team tries to collapse on you and they're like trying to throw off your Hex, you can just bail out with Hex and still get away that way. Now, Hex Flash will give you more safety, but then if you just Hex away, they overcommit, and your team follows up, kind of don't need the eject button. Like, it just doesn't work out. In practice, the eject button doesn't get high value or high usage inside the games. That brings us to X Attack. So X Attack is also very strong on the Gengar, but it requires a different playstyle. Like, you need to have other people go in for you. Even though Gengar wants to be a huge, high damage burst initiator, just kind of makes it where, like, Gengar goes in and is hexing and creating chaos and softening up the team, and then just snowballing KOs for everyone else on its team. So it wants to go for, like, some crazy engage. But then that does make it susceptible to crowd control. X Attack means you're kind of waiting for the fight to break down a little bit. You're waiting for them to blow cooldowns, which is also a really big thing about the Full Heal, that when you use Full Heal, you eat their cooldowns, and then they have nothing else to use after Full Heal wears off. So it gives you more value than just the short amount of time of immunity hindrance. So what you need to do is play around their cooldowns with the X Attack, but then you go in and you just get crazy amounts of damage. And Gengar is one of the best special attack scaling Pokemon in the game. A lot of other Pokemon, when you like look at the numbers, it's like, I'm getting like a couple hundred damage at like level 10 against certain Pokemon, but then Pokemon have thousands of health. So it's not like a massive amount of damage increase when you're running on special attacks, but Hex, if you're getting Sludge Bomb Hex, you're doubling the damage, and you should be getting 2 or 3 Hex on multiple people inside of fights. So now we're talking about like 700% special attack scaling. That's a lot, which means every little bit of special attack matters. So X Attack multiplying that even more means you have absurd amounts of damage. Now you're actually getting hundreds of more damage on top of the thousands of damage that you're doing, and that could make the difference. Also, X Attack is like a soft, fluffy tail. It doesn't give you as many bonuses, but it lasts longer. So you can, like, KO someone and then use that to then steal objectives or secure an objective, still have a couple of seconds of X Attack, and then KO Pokemon outside of that. So it gives you a lot of just different options in how you destroy the enemy team, but it makes you a lot more vulnerable. Then there's Fluffy Tail. Fluffy Tail is the ultimate secure item for the Gengar. It means Zapdos pretty much becomes unstealable. It means you have a chance of stealing Zapdos because, like, you ult in, you use your Unite move, you pop up with a Fluffy Tail, and then you go for the steal or something. So that makes the game really spooky, and it just gives you a lot of secure and jungle clear speed and some opportunities and options like that. So it's a pretty interesting item. Doesn't give you the combat stats, but to a degree, Gengar doesn't need the combat stats, but these are just secondary considerations outside the Full Heal. Full Heal is just going to work in every game, in every situation, and it lets you snowball, and if you get an ace at Zapdos or Drednaw, you don't need the Fluffy Tail because everyone on the enemy team is dead. Okay, that was a lot of time just talking about the battle items, and we haven't even gotten into the build on Gengar, and this is where things get messy. Like I said, Gengar is one of the best special attack scaling Pokemon in the game, if not the best special attack scaling Pokemon, so it kind of breaks down how the game is supposed to go. Because yeah, Buddy Barrier, Focus Band, that is like the default must pick, should pick. That's what you run on pretty much every Pokemon, and Gengar can use Buddy Barrier. There's just gonna be like weird situations where maybe you don't get the full value out of the Buddy Barrier, because if Gengar has to initiate from far away, he might not have any teammates around to utilize that Buddy Barrier, so it's really just only going to be for the Gengar. And then if you pop out and you have that 40% health, and then you go Sludge Bomb Hex, the Buddy Barrier is giving you value, but death is the hardest CC, so maybe it doesn't matter that you have the shield or the bonus health, especially because you're not laning with Gengar in most situations. Like, I think Gengar is a viable laner, but if you're jungling, that extra 400 to 600 hit points, depending on where your Buddy Barrier is upgraded, you're not going to feel that, and if you're ganking effectively, it's not like, oh man, I barely survived with like 1 hit points. Those situations don't happen on Gengar. So I feel like Gengar and Talonflame are really the only Pokemon in the game that can get away without using Buddy Barrier, but they should still have strong consideration for the Buddy Barrier. Also, Focus Band is kind of weird on Gengar. Like, you can use it, because if you use it to like bail out, like Buddy Barrier Focus Band means, yeah, you're about to get blown up, you use your Unite move, and then you have the shield keeping you safe, you're gonna be healing up from the Focus Band as you're like untargetable. Or if you're going for hexes, while you're inside the invulnerability on Hex, and then you're healing up from the Focus Band, definitely a viable option. But if you're just doing crazy amounts of damage, then you just go, hey, team, follow me up, or I'm just going to kill 3 people by myself. You know, that's just how Gengar works. So I think that Wise Glasses and Choice Specs are like the biggest. You can run these instead of Buddy Barrier and Focus Band, but Special Attack Specs is where it gets weird, because as a jungle, you don't really find too many scoring opportunities, because you're not going to have a couple of Pokeballs. You know, you're not going to have a little bit of energy. You do a full clear, you get a gank, maybe you help with Vespiquen, and now you actually have to KO both opposing Pokemon before you get enough time to score. And Gengar doesn't really turn on until level 7 on Skank, so we're going to break that down with the moveset, which means the score specs has a chance to pop off, and it's really risky snowball, but you don't need it. However, it's there mostly because Gengar is a complete meme Pokemon, where it's like, yo, if I just go 3 special attack items, I start scaling and snowballing, no one can stop me. There's nothing they can do. And a fully stacked special attack specs has like 100 special attack, and as we talked about, Gengar has 700% scaling, works even better with X attack, and then your Unite move also has like 263% on top of that. So you're getting an extra 1,000 damage on multiple targets just for this item's existence. That's huge. And maybe special attack specs is actually still the better choice on Gengar over the choice specs, because we have a little bit of interesting discoveries coming out about this item. This extra damage only applies to 1 target, and there's an 8-second cooldown. Now, 40% of your special attack plus 60 is significant, but it's not like going to do too much for your clear, and it's really going to be that initial burst damage inside the gank. Probably helps out with your level 5 gank though, so maybe that's enough to just kind of like snowball and push that first gank over the edge. But when it comes into major team fights, you're going to be getting like 3 or 4 hexes inside of that, so only 40% special attack scaling on a hex? That doesn't line up with the math that we just saw. And that's where things start to get really fuzzy on the Gengar, because I'm pretty sure that once you get 2 scores on the special attack specs, you're just beating out choice specs. It also sucks that there's 2 special attack items that have specs in the name, so it kind of gets weird to explain it. Like, it might confuse a few people, hopefully it doesn't. And then that opens up another can of worms, because we have the Wise Glasses versus special attack specs debate that's been going on. And Gengar, once you get 2 scores with the specs on Gengar for a level 20 specs, you're now ahead of Wise Glasses by level 7. So if you can get 2 scores by level 9, it's a better item. Even then, the difference isn't that much. And if you get 3, you're ahead. And if you keep scoring, you stay ahead. So that means, like, special attack specs plus choice specs might be the better option than specs plus Wise Glasses, or special attack specs plus Wise Glasses, or Wise Glasses plus choice specs. I don't know the most efficient thing, and I don't know the best optimization. I'm sorry, it's too ugly right now. Oh no, and the Google document is going to start updating with choice specs math. Yeah, it's complicated. Maybe you just get rid of that. Just shut off your brain. Don't care about Buddy Barrier. Run all 3 special attacking items. Shell Bell's never good because Focus Band is just better than Shell Bell. So if you're running Shell Bell right now, switch over to Focus Band because it's just way better in every situation. Or Buddy Barrier even, because for the game-determining fights, that shield is going to offset anything you're healing from the Shell Bell. The cooldown reduction doesn't matter in that case, and the small amount of special attack doesn't matter in that case either. Good luck, have fun. Also, I'm expecting this video just to get a lot of views because tons of people like Gengar, so let's put in a little bit of a PSA. Peak mentioned in his video that Wise doesn't increase your special attack, but rather your damage. This is false. It just increases your special attack. Yeah, if Wise Glasses increase damage, broken, always pick item, but it doesn't, so keep that in mind, stay informed. This is a fine and nasty Gengar build, and the thing is, I already recorded most of this guide before the new mobile update, and then Choice Specs exist, and now Choice Specs is absolutely insane and just kind of makes Gengar even crazier with how it scales and how it finds special attack and all that extra damage that it gets, so yeah, I'm going to transition into the old guide now that I've kind of updated with the new information, and hopefully the rest of the video still makes a lot of sense. So if like something kind of conflicts, just replace whatever build with this and you're good to go. So Hex was nerfed in the first balance patch of Pokemon Unite, and it's still the best option on Gengar. I'm going to show off the fun little things you can do with Shadow Ball Dream Eater, but overall, Hex, it's just AoE. It gives you a lot of invulnerability frames while using it. It's also a blink, so a Gengar can use it to get out if it needs to, which is kind of nutty. And yeah, everything's just nasty about it because Sludge Bomb has a large AoE, and then you also have a large AoE on the Hex. You dive in, and then you hit it a couple times, you nuke them out. Also, you need it for objective secures. Yeah, the enemy team can like full heal or flash out of your Sludge Bomb or something like that. Drednaw can't, Zapdos can't, that's why you have the fluffy tail as well, and then you just burst down Zapdos instantly, you secure Drednaw instantly. Like, that's another weird thing, like, even if all 5 people rotate bot, and you have a Gengar, and they don't have a Gengar can just, like, take Drednaw by itself, while people are still, like, trying to fight it out and scuffle it out a little bit in like, a 4v5 even. It's just that fast, it's just that crazy. Levitate, when Pokemon is not in combat, movement speed is increased. This doesn't really matter a crazy amount, to be honest, because you're in combat for 8 seconds, and if you're in the jungle, you're not like getting movement speed immediately into the next camp or anything. It can help if you're like trying to decide where to rotate, and you might like go, oh, I need to go top, and then their jungler shows bot, and then you just kind of like whip bot really quick, so it can help you get back onto the map, but for jungling it doesn't really matter. Now, the boosted attack is pretty interesting because it allows you to jump onto the target, and it gives you a longer auto attack range, but make sure you're kind of like timing this properly. Like, don't try to go in for a last auto attack that doesn't matter on the opposing Pokemon if you've already used all of your cooldowns, because you might accidentally jump in. Also, when setting up for it inside of a fight, just be aware of your auto attack because it moves you around. So that can set up for either better combos or accidents, and you don't want any of those to happen. Well, you don't want the accidents to happen. You definitely want the better combos. Now, because Gengar is primarily a jungle, we're going to talk about jungling with Gengar. You can actually set up your auto attacks and then leash over to the Lillipup. You also want to start Will-O-Wisp first, and then just kind of go for it. Again, Fluffy Tail here is where things get pretty nice because you do have slow clear with the Will-O-Wisp. Then we get into the Lick. You can Lick back in here. You can Will-O-Wisp, use your auto attacks to jump onto them. Then just kind of set up for the blue buff and attack and do it. It's kind of boring, kind of lame for a while, but that's also what Ludicolo is for, because now you are going to get faster clear with the effects. Boom, do that, Lick, tongue them. Use that to maybe cancel the Buffalon. I don't know how, like, very spicy it gets, but if you're going to be playing jungle on any Pokemon, you need to practice the clear in practice mode before you take it into real games. Then that's when you go to Corphish, do your thing, lick them closer, set up auto attacks as you're walking to them so you can jump on them faster, and then your clear does start to speed up and feel a little better. So, do that, tongue, that gets you in, that sets it up, and boom. Just like that. So here's where we start getting into weird jungle theory, and I think I'm going to have to draw it on the map. Also, let me check. Yeah, Lick actually sets up your enhanced auto attack. So yeah, that part is definitely worth noting for the ganks, because you get to pull someone in and then jump onto them, and then that sets up like Will-O-Wisp or Sludge Bomb and all that other fun stuff. But now we can talk about what Gengar wants to do in the jungle. So yeah, now we're going to be getting into some high-level jungle theories. So let's say you go here, and that means Lillipup is going to leash top. Well, it means your enemy is going to be going bot, so their rotation is going to be looking like this, and that means they are going to go to the bot side, but you're going to be going to the top side. Now, Gengar is really weak. Well, actually, at that point, you're not even Gengar. Haunter is really weak at ganking. As you can see, our abilities don't really matter. We don't get Hex until level 7. Sludge Bomb does almost no damage. It's 1% of their hit points per tick. So it's not going to contribute anything. Really, the most that happens is you lick them into you, and then hopefully your team collapses on like the one person that gets picked out. You're not going to be getting multi-kill ganks on the Haunter unless something goes really wacky, but you want to just be there for the counter gank to help out the part of your team that's going to be in a 2v3. Now this means you can set up for a cross Corphish clear to be at the same lane that the opponent is going to be at. So if your Lillipup goes bot, then you want to go top. If your Lillipup goes top, you end up bot. And you're mostly just there to either get like a pick on an overextension or just be there to make it a 3v3 and not look for a crazy fight because you're not going to be doing anything until level 7. There's also a couple of weird ideas where just like, maybe if you're in comms with your teammates, or maybe as like the overall understanding of Pokemon Unite gets better, it's like if your bot lane pays attention, sees the Lillipup going up, it's like, okay, we're probably going to be getting ganked for the Vespiquen fight, so they need to play behind, you know, not overextend, not open up into the gank from the enemy jungle or something weird like that. And then that's where it also gets weird for the Gengar. So Gengar, you know, does his thing and just either wants to be here to help secure the 3v2 lane of Vespiquen for experience, or also set up into, again, that counter gank, maybe just like waiting in this bush. So another thing Gengar can do is that he goes down, does his normal path, catapults over here, and then like waits in the bush to see what happens. Because the opponent jungle, they might just like try to clear up, they might also go for an invade. They can do like a lot of weird things start to break down, and this is where you want to use your passive. By hanging out in this bush right here, you're going to have your passive, and then you can also take the Salac Berry to wherever you need to go for the lanes for the help. And again, it's mostly just like you're not going to be doing much at level 5, so you don't want to die. You don't want to throw away anything. You don't want to give up a lot of experience, but you want to try to claim as much experience as possible. So if everything is looking pretty quiet, then that's when you can go for the Corphish takes, and you want to pretty much stick on your side. You're not crossing this line, because if you get caught out by the enemy jungle, they're just going to beat you. You can't really do anything in a 1v1. If your bot lane is safe and their jungle shows, yeah, then that means you're going to be getting safe Corphish clear. Maybe opposite side Corphish. So let's say like bot, you know, it's fine, it's 3v2, they play it safe, they don't get caught out. Maybe bot loses the Vespiquen, but you're Gengar. You're there to secure Drednaw and make up for any kind of things that have happened inside the game. So that's when like you take the Corphishes and then you can back and then you get your second jungle clear, and that's going to put you on the level 7 for Drednaw, and that's when you are just hunting people on the map. But it's really just going to be like weird jungle theory, because there's a lot of wacky things that can happen, because there is like a strange amount of downtime until that second Corphish spawn and then your second camp spawns as well. And then after that, the game starts to open up a bit more, and then you start dueling people. Then you just show up at a lane and end it with the insanity that is Sludge Bomb Hex. So a lot of things to practice, a lot of things taken into consideration on the Gengar, but then the rest of the game kind of plays itself. Alright, now we get to talk about that Sludge Bomb Hex. So this is where the targeting on Haunter is also something to consider, because for the most part, you want to hit low health targets in the back and then jump up onto them, but then that can like kind of change as the fight is happening around you, or people are coming in and leaving your range. So for the most part, like closest is safe, but you do need to be aware. It's like, oh, there's a Snorlax that's like really close to me, or Crustle is running up onto me, and that means the closest targeting might screw you over, and you need to throw it somewhere else. So, or if like you're setting up a weird gank angle and there's just someone that happens to be closer than the target you want, that can like mess up how you're throwing it. But once you get in on someone, it makes it easier for Hex, because that's when you just kind of come through, and that's when you spam the Hex, and that's when the resets get ridiculous. So we can talk about how that ends up working. Also, let's count to 5. So Sludge Bomb, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 if you're mashing it. Actually, it's like technically yes and no. So as you can see, it went on the full cooldown because that 5th usage didn't give me that extra Sludge Bomb. However, at that point, if you land 5 hexes, they're going to be KO'd. Now, since the last hex did not get a cooldown reduction, it also didn't get the double damage of hex, so it's not going to hit as hard. But just kind of like things to consider on how those level ups go, how hard you want to go in, and mostly it's about the large objectives. If you're level 7, you're not level 11, just kind of know how many times you're going to reset and how much that last one is going to come into play. And then like Fluffy Tail is also going to change that, but can't target the Fluffy Tail on the substitute doll. And this is where we can also see that the Sludge Bomb is a like 1% of their health kind of thing, so it makes it hard to determine numbers on the sub doll because it has an overinflated health value. So it's really just going to be about, like, that's like, alright, so you go in. Realistically, you're also not going to be able to, like, super hardcore spam it. So you will be able to get 3 safe uses if you're not mashing it, and that 4th one is going to be the one that drops off. So a lot of things, like, take into consideration at different points in the game. But that also shows how it's going to work with the Drednaw, because Drednaw is going to be spam. Drednaw is going to be crazy on top of that. However, you can get knocked up, so it could affect your cooldown reduction, as you can see right here. And you do about half to Drednaw inside that combo. One thing to consider is, like, alright, so what you do is you hit it, you throw the Sludge Bomb, you let it do its thing, and then that's when you go in for the spam. That's also where Fluffy Tail gets ridiculous on the Drednaw. And if you just kind of, like, use Fluffy Tail while it's at a third, and that's when you, like, hard commit to your cooldowns, then the Drednaw take is easy. So it seems like in that time, depending on, like, how you're taking it, how your opponent is taking it, or, like, how your allies and team is helping you as well, that can change how you want to take the Drednaw. Because, like, Sludge Bomb, Hex, 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 wait for cooldown, Sludge Bomb, Hex, 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 Hex. That seems to be enough to take the Drednaw, and then depending on, like, when you use the Fluffy Tail is going to be pretty big for the secure. Teammates helping you. If they, like, start it up, or if they leash it, and then, like, you're here. You're just threatening. It's like, oh, hey, if I get a Sludge Bomb and I land on you, you're dead, so you might want to play a little bit back. And then Drednaw's at half. That's when you throw the Sludge Bomb. That's when you go in for the Fluffy Tail, and then that's when you spam the Hexes on them, and that's how you kind of snowball it from there. Pretty much same idea on the Zapdos. You can take it super fast, but you also need to be aware it's like, hey, I need to make sure I get my Hex cooldowns. Because another thing about Hex is, like, by the time Sludge Bomb comes off cooldown, if you get greedy, so I mean, let's spam Hex, Sludge Bomb is almost off cooldown. But if we use it, and then we don't get the reset, now our Hex is on cooldown. So it's not worth mashing for the Sludge Bomb, even at level 7, even for the Drednaw, because then Sludge Bomb's going to come up in an extra second or two, and then that's when you can go into the Hex combos. So if you get knocked up, go for the 3 on the Hex, and then wait for Sludge Bomb to come back, and then continue your Hex spam. If not, then it's just like, just don't spam it. You know, go for 3, that seems really safe, don't greed on a 4th, and then just wait the 2 seconds for your Sludge Bomb to come up. You already have your Hex because it got the reset, and then that's when you can kind of go in for the finishing blow combo on the Drednaw. And that's kind of like the weird thing about it. It's like, oh, Sludge Bomb, you know, it's like Sludge Bomb and Hex aren't supposed to be off cooldown. You know, you do that, and then if your target dies, don't be spamming Hex, because now we're going to be in rotations faster. Instead of a 2-second cooldown on Sludge Bomb, waiting for the full cooldown on Hex is going to feel really bad. So just that's another thing to take into heavy consideration as you're playing through this. So now that Drednaw has respawned, we can really put this into practice. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then that's it. That's the reset right there. So again, if you're on it really quick, you can get the 4th. And now that, you know, we're just kind of picking away at it, that's when we can kind of like see what's going on. Also, depending on how it goes again, we get knocked up, take the 3, just kind of wait for that. And now we go Fluffy Tail, Sludge Bomb, Hex, Hex, boom, stuff like that. And for the most part, it does seem really consistent to start hexing as your Sludge Bomb is landing. There's just like some really weird times where like max range, or even like a bit more than max range, if you just kind of throw it out there and you hex too soon, you might not get the reset. It could be a ping issue sometimes, but it does seem like pretty reliable. So like as you're throwing out the Sludge Bomb, you get that hex ready and that. But again, here's where the closest targeting can lead to some problems. There's some other weirdness. So like if you wait the extra quarter of a second for that touch of patience, it means you're not going to get screwed over in really weird situations. After you get the Sludge Bomb upgrade though, you pretty much have permanent Hex as long as you're using Sludge Bomb. So it's going to pretty much have like permanent Sludge on the opponent. And then yeah, you just do this, do this, do this. But when you're like getting there closer on the cooldown, like I could go for this and I do get the reset. So you get that extra usage of Hex in there, and then you just wait, make sure you get the Sludge Bomb again, and then that's turning into a crazy amount of damage. And it also makes it really nice for like the 3rd Drednaw, or 2nd Drednaw. If you're level 11 by 2nd Drednaw, that's when you can also get away with the spam, get away with that craziness, and especially Zapdos. And kind of same thing applies, that like, oh wow, you just have this. As you can see though, Sludge Bomb had like 1 second left, and then our Hex went on full cooldown. Don't try to push it to the limit. You know, you have to really pay attention to the Sludge Bomb cooldown. And again, people are going to be moving around and stuff. Like, just spamming Hex won't be the only way to do it. You have to kind of, like, look at what happens. Like, alright, Sludge Bomb, walk up. If they flash away, all you have to do is wait 6 seconds or even 5 seconds at that point. Then you can try for it again. But if you just, like, immediately Sludge Bomb go in, they might eat the first Hex, but then they flash out the second one or something like that. Also, there's going to be different targets, different people moving around in a fight, depending on who you hit, what you need to do. If you only get one target and you KO them, and you still have like 3 seconds on Sludge Bomb, don't hex the next target. Again, that's when you want to pace it out. That's also when the Unite move usage gets kind of weird. If you see someone that's like trying to solo a Rotom, yeah, you use your Unite move to really go in and initiate that fight, and then you really make them feel bad about themselves. So again, like Energy Amp and all that extra damage scaling kind of comes in and gets crazy. But yeah, you can ruin them. But inside a fight, like let's say you get a pick on someone kind of on the outside of the fight, they get tagged by the Sludge Bomb, the rest of the team can't save them, they don't want anything to do with that. You get the KOs there, and then that's when you use your Unite move to chase down the rest of the team, wait for the Sludge Bomb cooldowns, and then you try to get multiple people in that Sludge Bomb, in that Hex, and you just kind of like snowball and scale it off of there. Like, even though it is brain dead towards like you land the Sludge Bomb and then you can just KO one or multiple people for free, there is some nuance in setting that up and being a proficient Gengar player, especially post-nerf. Also, let's say you're level 13 for the Zapdos fight. I'm just going to like use the Fluffy Tail, use all that Hex stuff, and then you can see how much damage you do to Zapdos inside of that time. We got knocked up, but we still found a reset inside of it. So you do that. So it's over a third, but not quite half. I don't know what that is, like 2/5. So when Zapdos is around a third, that's when you want to like Fluffy Tail, spam, 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 or even wait, maybe wait till a quarter, because the opponent wants to burst it down as well, so you might have to wait that extra second. You might have to stagger one of your Hex usages while they throw their attacks down so you can get the secure with the Fluffy Tail and the Hex. But that means like 2 ability rotations. So you go Sludge Bomb, Hex, 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 wait for Zapdos to get a little lower from either the opponents or your team, and then that's when you come in with the Fluffy Tail for the secure. So that's all the cool stuff about Hex. Now I want to talk about the cool stuff about Dream Eater Shadow Ball, show why it's cool, but also why it's just inferior. Okay, so what makes Shadow Ball Dream Eater compelling? Well, if you land Dream Eater successfully, it gives you a cooldown reset on Shadow Ball. So you go Shadow Ball, Dream Eater, second activation of Dream Eater, that's going to be your Shadow Ball. And the cool thing about Dream Eater is that it does give you an empowered auto attack. So what you want to do is Shadow Ball, Dream Eater, attack them, Dream Eater, attack them, Shadow Ball. And it gets even crazier than that, because you might notice that there's like an interesting little window between how these things work. So you go like Shadow Ball, auto attack, Dream Eater, auto attack, wait for Shadow Ball, Dream Eater, auto attack, Shadow Ball. Or just something weird like that. And as you level up, you also get more damage. But it is kind of interesting. It really just like lets you nuke one person out. And if you choose to run Shadow Ball Dream Eater, then I think you need the flash. That way you have that safety, or you can really get in to secure the moves that you're looking for. Now, it is going to be heavily reliant on the Dream Eater. So if you go Shadow Ball, miss, well then you're just kind of screwed and you don't get to do much, and you just have to wait for the next Shadow Ball. But the buff on the damage to Shadow Ball does feel pretty nice, and it does have like a low-ish cooldown, so it can be good for poke. But if you're landing a Shadow Ball, you're just better off landing a Sludge Bomb and then going in on Hex and obliterating people. Also, again, Drednaw and Zapdos don't move, so if you're playing for objectives, and objectives are the game. Drednaw is the game. Zapdos is the game. So if you have less burst or less like even sustained damage against them and less securing power, then there's really no reason of running Shadow Ball Dream Eater. Maybe as lane Gengar if you're trying to play for a very specific reason and a role. Like split pushing doesn't matter because again, Drednaw is the game, Zapdos is the game. So we don't have like a lot of backdooring or weirdness going on right now. And even then, like just Sludge Bomb into Hex always beats out whatever wacky fun little combo comes out of this. And you might notice that even going the follow-up Dream Eater isn't a full cooldown reduction. So going Shadow Ball, auto attack, Dream Eater, wait, Shadow Ball, Dream Eater isn't like instant and the most damage, but I think it like might speed up your next Shadow Ball by like a half second or something. So you don't always have to do it, but it is something to take into consideration. And then you are just there spamming. I'm wondering if maybe Bruiser Gengar gets something out of that. Like that could be one of the rare 1% uses of Shell Bell, since you do heal off Dream Eater, and as you level up, you get more damage and more healing. But then you like really need to scale. You really need to come online, and that makes things kind of rough. But at least like the character does play itself and make a lot of sense, and you do get to like really stick to someone, really blow up one person. Like that's a lot of damage. So yeah, let's look at that again on a clean slate. Also, I'm just going to kind of go unga bunga with this one. So you go Shadow Ball, Dream Eater, Empowered Auto, wait, Shadow Ball, Dream Eater, Empowered Auto, and all that other stuff. And like the auto attacks are actually a significant amount of that damage. And if you're like getting in there and healing, like what if you do something weird? Wise Glasses, Muscle Band. Is that possible? Maybe Scope Lens for that small chance you crit. Because Shadow Ball doesn't crit, Dream Eater doesn't crit, but your auto attack can crit. And also, it can be pretty strong with your Unite move, like if you go through your combo, so Shadow Ball, Dream Eater. I think like the waiting on it is kind of crucial to that, then getting the Dream Eater follow up another Shadow Ball. Unite move, wait for Dream Eater cooldown, because like you use that to KO a target, and then you pop up onto a new target, and then you just do the same thing over and over again. But I think it's also very crucial that you get the an empowered auto attack on that first Dream Eater usage. Like Dream Eater 1, make sure you get that auto attack in there, because that is going to be like significant damage and stuff. They just go in there, spam, blow people up. And if you're running a, well actually then Bruiser Gengar, maybe Muscle Band isn't the play, but like, I don't know, some kind of tanky item. Maybe that is where Focus Band comes into play. So if that's happening, then that means like while you're getting beat up on, you can wait for that next Dream Eater combo because you did heal and you do survive, and then you might be able to like do this combo onto 3 targets. It takes a while. It also means like you can't miss a Dream Eater, you can't drop a Shadow Ball, you have to play perfect, but there is a weird case for it, and maybe when Zapdos hopefully inevitably gets nerfed, then this might open up where it's like, oh, Gengar just assassinated like 2.5 people in the back line. Might want to pay attention to that. Alright, so this is going to be just Wise Glasses Gengar at level 15. As we can see, it's 1270 damage. The only thing that happens is Hex damage is doubled, but it's kind of hard to see it with the 999s of the Sludge Bomb, but if you land it, 25, 40. So, now let's add the specs. Alright, so this is going to be specs with no score. We can see that that's going to be 1292, so that's going to double the amount to 2585. So 45 more damage on plus 16 special attack, which means we need to go and make some scores. Oh yeah, it's also worth noting that Gengar's Sludge Bomb does not leave anything on the ground, so there's nothing to walk into, and the initial hit does deal damage. So as we can see right here, Apom, like, oh, it doesn't take it, and there's nothing to walk into. Then you land it, and it actually takes a chunk, and then ticks away for 1% of its health. So didn't really clarify on that, because it's mostly about the Hex. So yeah, I did want to clarify that for completeness sake, but let's go and look at the damage. 1419, which means we're going to be doing 2838 damage on the Hex. So a fully stacked specs gives us a little more than 10% extra damage. Now, things taken into consideration, level 15 isn't a guarantee in this game. Also, by the time the opponents hit level 15, they're going to have over 6,000 hit points. Also depends on like items and other weird stuff. So it's a meaningful amount of damage, but it's not like the most insane amount of damage. But it is going to be getting like multiple uses. You know, if you get 4 hexes on someone after like defenses factor in and stuff, all right, that's going to be an extra 800 or 1,000 damage or something. That's pretty good. But then when you think about it, Focus Band is going to be giving you like 1,000 health. Actually more than 1,000 health in most situations. I don't know, if maybe you're noticing that your level 8 fights, like every single time someone squeaks away with like 100 or 200 health, just a sliver of hit points, then maybe it might be worth testing out. But then if you start dying too much, well, that shows that the Focus Band was doing its job. So I think it also takes experimentation, just to kind of figure out what to do with the Gengar. And that's going to be it for this video. Normally, I do some gameplay at the end of my guides to kind of tie everything together, but since Gengar's Jungler, the first 3 minutes of your game, or like 2.5 minutes of your game, are effectively scripted. Then you go to Drednaw, then you burst down Drednaw like that, and then it just comes down to like mechanics and fundamentals and team fighting and stuff like that. I will probably just do some Gengar games at some point, but that'll make this video too long. Like, comment, subscribe, notification bell. Check out my playlist for all of my Pokemon UNITE content. Have guides on like every Pokemon eventually, or most Pokemon eventually. There's some Pokemon I just don't care to ever play, like Charizard, so I don't really care to make a guide about Charizard. And eventually you'll just get good and understand everything about Pokemon UNITE. I also have a couple of other ideas I want to try out on the Gengar. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching. Oh, this will be funny.